Well, here we are on video number 7. I'm going to start talking about fermented foods. Kind of a new concept in America, huh? People have started doing fermenting at home like it's something new, but guess what? It's really ancient. The cultures around the world have been doing fermenting forever, and you know, it's really healthy. They have found that people who do fermented foods are healthier. Fermented foods tend to be anti-cancer. Who knew? Now, many of the cultures have their own favorites. We know about kimchi, which is Korea, sauerkraut in the Germans, lassi, I'm not sure what lassi is, but there's yogurt, and there's kefir, and there's tempeh, and there's natto. I'll be telling you more about natto. These are all fermented foods. Now, what happens with fermentation is it forms a natural bacteria that feeds on the sugar and the starch in the food. I think the way fermenting has been done historically, and by the way, sourdough bread was the same principle. They would carry it around in the wagons, and they had that start, and they would do sourdough bread. But in Germany, the women would literally take a barrel, and they would have it in the backyard, and they would have cabbage and have it covered, and they would soak it. Now, when I was working at the clinic, this story just came to me. We got off onto a fermented, we were doing fermented cabbage. That's what it was. And one of the nurses was very health oriented. So she brought some cabbage, fermented cabbage in a jar one day to work. We had to send her outside. It smelled up the whole clinic. It was awful, but it was so good for her. So these are really, you can make these at home, and you can do this with cabbage and all different kinds of things. There is a site called Mercola, MERCOLA.com. Probably know about his site. Millions and millions of people go to that for health information. If you go on that site, you'll find some really excellent recipes on how you can do fermenting easily and safely and end up with a product that will last you for a long time. Ron, my partner, makes one of these products. I think he uses 12 or even more different vegetables, and he says it tastes better the older it gets. And he eats that, and so it's very healthy. The thing about the fermented foods is when it breaks down, what's happening is you're creating enzymes and B vitamins, even omega-3 fatty acids, and various strains of probiotics. Most of us now know about probiotics. They're the things that you can buy in the store. They're the good bacteria that are supposed to be in your intestine. Now, you can pay a lot of money and buy it in a jar, or you can do fermentation, and it's a lot cheaper. Eat these vegetables and you're going to be getting billions of the healthy bacteria. They're very digestible too, the fermented foods. There is one food, I believe it's Japan, I'm pretty sure, it's called natto. Yuck. But it is fermented soybean. It's very sticky, and when you eat it, it pulls in long strings. I believe it's native to their culture, but it's very healthy. At my convention, I am required every year to recertify, and they have talked in the past, some of the leaders in the world, about the health benefits for the heart of the product nattokinase. Nattokinase. Very, very healthy. You can actually buy it now as a supplement, and it's a fermented product. So now we're going to talk about really one of my favorite topics, herbs. I am not an herbalist, but I know some about herbs, and really herbs were part of the beginning of my journey. When I first started getting interested in natural health, I happened on a book called Herbally Yours by Penny Royal. I opened it up, and the first thing I turned to was marshmallow. I thought, well, marshmallow, that's the sugary white thing. No. I found out that marshmallow is an herb that grows. In 18th and 19th century doctors, before the pharmaceuticals, used to boil it, and it was sticky, and they would get the stickiness out, and it looked like marshmallows, kind of, when they had that, and then they would sweeten it, stir it up, and they would give it to people who had coughs to soothe their throats. That was kind of the beginning of my learning about herbs. You know, it's interesting that when you think about the herbs, it's pretty biblical. In Ezekiel 47, it says, "The trees and the fruit will be for your meat, and the leaves shall not fade, and they shall be the food of the nation." And in the last book of the Bible, Revelation, it said, says, the tree of life will bear 12 manner of fruit, and there shall be leaves of the trees for the healing of the nations. So it's interesting that we have the herbals that are so healing. The herbs were used pretty much solely in history. That's what people used for healing. And many of the pharmaceuticals today are based on herbs. Valium is a copy of the valerian root. And so it's just nice to know that you can actually buy herbs and make some really healthy formulas. So I'm going to tell you a few stories, a few of my favorite herbs. You could go on forever about herbs, but one of them is parsley. I used to tell my kids when we go out to dinner, eat your parsley. It's the healthiest thing on the plate. And by the way, everything I'm telling you, there's been scientific studies on all of these things I'm telling you, so you can find scientific literature confirming it. Parsley has been proven to be anti-cancer. So it's something that you can eat, you can drink, and just it's loaded up with minerals. It's really good for you. When I was a flight attendant, we always had parsley on the trays, decorations, and we would tend to get swollen ankles when we were up in the air, and we would make ourselves a cup of parsley tea and drink it to get the water off. It's a very good diuretic. Now recently I learned about an herb called ashitaba. You'll see the slide, ashitaba. It's from Japan, and it's a plant, a bush that grows everywhere. And the Japanese people have been eating ashitaba plant for centuries. And they say it's one of the reasons they're so healthy. It's also called tomorrow plant, because if you go out and you cut off a stem, in the morning it's already got a new shoot coming up. It oozes out sap, and the sap is very rich in an ingredient called shallones. And these shallones have been proven to do so many things that help with diabetes. They're loaded with vitamins and minerals. Now, you're going to start seeing more of this herb in the health food stores. It's still kind of new coming, but it was kind of interesting information. Dandelions. Who knew you could go out in your yard and just pick a few dandelions? It's a good idea to do that in the spring, because dandelions are very detoxifying. You can eat them, you can put them in your salad, and just enjoy them. Cayenne. Cayenne is excellent for the heart and digestion. I just had somebody tell me that you need to be careful. He kind of overtook cayenne and had some serious stomach problems. So you want to be careful. And by the way, with all the herbs, you need to use good common sense, because they can be very strong. But cayenne is excellent for digestion. Now, and it comes from the cayenne pepper. I want to tell another one of my stories. When my kids were little, I used to go out to the country where there was a woman, Mrs. Yaba was her name, and she grew things organically. Her whole life she'd been an organic farmer. And you would go out to her stand in the summer, and she would have all of her fruits lined up. And she had some peppers there, habaneros. I think they might have even been hotter. But she had a big sign that says, "Do not touch these without gloves." And I asked her about it. She said, one day she was in the house when her kids were little, and she said, "I heard the bull just snorting and bucking, and I ran outside. And I said, 'What have you done to the bull?' And they said, 'Oh, nothing, Mom. We just gave him some of those peppers.'" So I thought that was funny. Okay, aloe. I always have aloe in the house for burns. If ever I touch a hot skillet in the kitchen when I'm cooking, I run get the aloe. If you can get it on there immediately, it can really ease that burn. And I remember a story once. There's actually toothpaste that has aloe vera. And this is the story my mother told me, that she had a friend where she worked who started using aloe vera toothpaste. And she went to her dentist a few months later. He said, "What have you done? You have no plaque on your teeth." And she had always had a heavy plaque. And the only thing she could say was, "Well, I've been using toothpaste with aloe vera." So, and you can buy toothpaste with aloe vera. Now there's one called curcumin. Curcumin comes from the turmeric plant. And curcumin is good for so many things. There is a nutritionist, well-known nutritionist, and I heard him teach one time at a seminar. If you can only choose one supplement on the whole earth, and you're going to go on a desert island, let it be curcumin. Very healthy for the heart, for all the different functions. And that comes in a capsule. Obviously, you can buy that encapsulated. Now, there's something else I want to talk about. It's called moringa. Moringa. It's another ancient tree, actually, but it's showing up now. We're seeing more and more of it in America. It's a tree, and they are producing now from this tree a green, deep green powder. Johns Hopkins University says it is the miracle food of the earth. Moringa has over 300 medical uses. We actually are offering moringa on our site because we think it's such a powerful, powerful herb. And you'll see it. If you go to our site, you'll see it under proprietary products. Finally, we'll talk about ginkgo. Ginkgo has been used forever for brain function. People know that. They buy the ginkgo for their brain. There's research done on this, and it shows that ginkgo reduces the symptoms of dementia and Alzheimer's. Isn't that kind of nice to know? You can maybe give that to your parents if they're starting to show the signs of Alzheimer's. So that is my information today. I encourage you, if you're interested in herbs, do some reading, get a book. A great little book that I started with was, as I told you earlier, by Penny Royal. It's called Herbally Yours. There's just so much to learn out there. And if you're serious about what you're learning, you know what? You need to start reading. Become a student. Start to learn. And then you can go and you can teach others. And that is what our calling is to do, is to help others. One last reminder, don't forget we have the book. Workbooks go with this. I have diets. The video series that you're seeing is going to be for sale. It's going to be available with a workbook, so if you want to offer it at your PTA or a Bible study or neighborhood, it's a 10-week workbook study. Weekly you can do that. And there's also a book, Juice to Lose, an ebook. So these are all available on our website, and you'll see the website on the screen. Okay, good talking to you. I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video.